Hi, Jeff Munn, Creating Extraordinary Futures, and I want to talk about an insight or a stage that one of my clients has entered into, and it's about boredom. It's about recognizing at a fundamental level that there's a lot less to do in the world than you thought there was. That life can be a lot easier than you've been making up all along. So this client runs a company. He used to tell me that he needed to be involved in everything because his name was on the door. So if he was responsible for everything, he was going to be involved in everything. And while he talked about delegating and letting go, the truth was he really wasn't doing that. He was spending a lot of time worrying about things, fretting about things, planning, coming up with alternative scenarios depending on what the economy was going to do, depending on what a particular job was going to look like with a particular client, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he was kind of locked into this because it looked helpful to him. It looked useful to him. And then we had I guess it was the second time we had done a little mini retreat. It was probably November. And he suddenly got that his experience of the world, like mine, like yours, is 100% internally generated 100% of the time. That we're never experiencing the world. We're experiencing our thinking about the world. Even, my physical surroundings, you're seeing my office right now, even that is just a representation that my brain has invented. In fact, there's a lot of science around this question of, if we were to see the world as it actually exists, it'd just be this diffuse energy mass. I don't even know what to, it's vibration, right? It's not a sofa, a pillow, a lamp, a picture of Mount Sopris behind me. That's what our brain does with all the energy. That's how we decode it. And so we're decoding reality, and we're decoding reality 100% of the time based on what we believed as a child, our history, our stories, our sense of identity, all of these other things that we've either made up or believed along the way. So in a way, it's a bunch of dominoes, right? And when you tip one of them, they begin to fall. And so what he saw was that all of the things that he had been calling planning, strategizing, doing his job, preparing his company for the future, all of that stuff, he was making up possible scenarios. He was being scared of those possible scenarios. And he was creating a plan to make himself less scared. So it was almost like he was drawing a monster on a piece of paper with some crayons, and then to make him feel better about the monster, he was drawing a cage around the monster. He got that despite all his planning, none of the scenarios ever worked out exactly the way he thought he was going to, and that whatever did happen, he discovered, realized, remembered this innate capacity that he's always had, that you and I always have, to figure out what to do in the moment. Something happens and we respond to it. We have that innate intelligence, that innate creativity, wisdom. It's showing up for us 24/7. It's creating our experience of life 24/7 and then responding to what's showing up for us. And so when people get this, when people get how much of their life to this point has essentially been a waste of time, they stop doing it. They it's like if when you touch a hot stove for the first time, it doesn't take you very long to figure out that isn't pleasant, and it's not something you want to do again. Same thing for me. For me, it was waking up in the middle of the night and fretting about things. And when I saw that what I was fretting about was making up stuff, right? I pretty quickly stopped doing it. And so he stopped strategizing and figuring things out. He knew that because he's running a business, he has to do a certain amount of planning. He has to make a guess at how many employees he's going to need, how many jobs to bid on. He's in construction, that kind of thing. But once he's made his best guess, once he's done what he can do based on the facts as he understands them, he's kind of done until the facts change. And so that reduced that amount of spinning by, 80, 90%. And so now where the boredom comes in is he was finding things to be spun up about. That's kind of how he felt alive. And now that he doesn't do that anymore, it's like, what do I do with all this time? And I reminded him that boredom is really just it's waiting for the next thing to show up. And there's a lot of spaciousness in that, and there's a lot of potential sources of inspiration in that. We don't know what's going to show up next. That's what's really cool about life. That's what's really cool about playing this game called life. Is we don't know what the next opponent's going to look like, or the next set is going to look like, or the next course is going to look like, or whatever analogy you want to use. What we do know is that something's going to show up. And he's going to have the opportunity to get excited about that, or to decide not to. He's going to have that opportunity to see if I look in this direction of building my business, or preparing my business for sale and building something else. Whatever direction he looks in, life is going to throw things like that look like that back at him. So boredom in this understanding is a predictable phase. It's almost like a drug addict going into withdrawal. It is not all that pleasant, but it's short-lived. And what I would suggest to you, if you're anything like I used to be, if you're anything like he used to be, is we get addicted to the adrenaline hit, the dopamine rush from checking stuff off our to-do list, or finding a crisis to get involved in and solving it, all of those things. And when we stop doing that, we go through the little withdrawal phase, but typically something much bigger, much more exciting, much more fulfilling shows up as a possibility. And if you can be open to that, amazing things tend to happen. So would love to hear your thoughts on that. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.